All right, good afternoon, everyone. So the question is, which market is actually performing better right now? Coventry Point, the 75069 zip code, or McKinney as a whole? If you live in Coventry Point, this is a quick breakdown of what's changed in the neighborhood over the past year, looking at April of last year through March of this year. So because there's been limited activity and Coventry Point is a smaller neighborhood, we're looking at a 12-month window. Typically, I like to do these videos at 6 months, but we've had very low turnover. So another thing to think of is because it's a smaller neighborhood and there's only been a couple sales, the numbers could swing pretty drastically. So it's more important to look at the overall trends than the specific numbers. But from April 24 through March of 25, Coventry Point had 8 homes that sold. In that same time period from 25 to 26, we only had 2 homes sold. That's a 75% decrease in activity. And between those two time periods, we're seeing about a 7 to 8% decrease in the pricing as well. One thing that did stay consistent was the size of the homes that sold. Both time periods had about 1,850 square feet in those houses on average. So the biggest shift we're actually seeing in Coventry Point, aside from this slight decrease in sales price, is how long it's taking the houses to actually sell. So the last year, 24 to 25, days on market were about 17. And then from 25 to 26, days on market were 75 days. During that time period, the list price to sales price ratio also dropped. Back in 24, 25, we were getting over list on average, and that dropped to about 98.2% here recently. So instead of homes selling for above asking, buyers are now asking for a little bit more negotiating power, which they're getting. So let's zoom out and look at Coventry Point compared to the 75069 zip code. From October 24 through March of 25, 288 homes sold. And from 25 to 26, we had 301 sold. So actually sales activity is up for the zip code. But at that time, prices in the zip code came down about 10%, which was pretty significant. Days on market for the zip code is pretty standard at 70 days a year ago to 74, so not much change there. So what we're seeing in 75069 with the softening prices and homes taking a couple months to sell is we're seeing more of a balanced market taking shape. And then if we compare that to the overall McKinney market, so the last 6 months, so March of 26, the median sales price of McKinney was $485, and in March of 25, that was $480. So prices are staying pretty consistent in McKinney. Average days on market increased from 58 to 64 days, meaning homes are taking a little bit longer to sell, which is what we're seeing across the board. And the sales price ratio went from 95.7 to 94.8, meaning that buyers are negotiating more than they were a year ago. So the big takeaway is that Coventry Point simply hasn't had much turnover in the last year. Prices have stayed relatively stable, but just like the rest of McKinney, homes are taking longer to sell and buyers are being more selective. If you live in Coventry Point and are curious what your home might sell for right now in today's market, I'd be glad to run some numbers for you and go through that with you. Also, just another reminder, everybody's property taxes probably hit your mailbox just recently in this last week. If you're thinking about protesting those taxes, on my channel, there's another video I did with some tips on how to protest, and I'd certainly be glad to run some comps and stuff for you as well. So feel free to reach out. If I can ever be a resource, I'd be happy to help. Have a good one.